Another abbreviated day in the criminal trial of Donald J. Trump. Today's brief testimony, the interesting relationship between Mr. Trump and the tabloid paper, The National Enquirer, and its protection of Mr. Trump in so many ways. Some of this trial, though, has become something of a circus, with the only one speaking publicly outside court is Mr. Trump himself, and he's pretty wound up. Eyewitness News reporter Stefan Kim, live in Lower Manhattan with today's activities. Stefan.
Well, Bill, former President Donald Trump had a lot of grievances as he left court today. He blamed this entire trial on President Biden, complained again that the courtroom is freezing. Meanwhile, David Pecker testified for a little more than 2 hours today, and he, too, had a lot to say. On day 2 of testimony in former President Donald Trump's hush money trial, longtime tabloid publisher David Pecker was back on the stand and testified about his efforts to stifle unflattering stories about Trump during the 2016 campaign. The former National Enquirer publisher detailed how he worked with Trump's then lawyer Michael Cohen on so-called catch-and-kill strategies to buy up, then spike negative stories about Trump. Pecker recalled meeting Trump in his office to get paid, saying, "As I recollect, the entire package was stapled together. When the prosecutor asked, 'So you observed him reviewing an invoice and signing a check?' Pecker replied, 'That's correct. I would describe him as very knowledgeable, very detail-oriented, almost as a micromanager.' When asked how Trump was with his money, Pecker responded, 'He was very cautious and very frugal.' In opening statements, Trump's defense claimed the former president wasn't involved and pointed the finger instead at Cohen. Pecker went on to testify that Trump asked him to coordinate with Cohen, and then he made arrangements to kill unflattering stories during a 20 to 25-minute meeting at Trump Tower in August 2015. He would send me information about Ted Cruz or Ben Carson or Marco Rubio, and that was the basis for our story, and we would embellish it," Pecker said. The prosecution then showed the jury Enquirer headlines that lauded Trump and disparaged his political opponents. Pecker also described his first catch and kill, a story that ended up not being true, from a Trump Tower doorman in 2015, alleging Trump fathered an illegitimate child with a maid at Trump Tower. Pecker testified he bought that story for $30,000. Pecker conceded if the story turned out to be true, it probably would be the biggest sale for the paper since the death of Elvis Presley. Still, he would have held it until after the campaign, saying, "That was the conversation I had with Michael Cohen, and that's what we agreed to." Then there was former Playboy model Karen McDougal, who Pecker says in June of 2016 tried to sell a story about a relationship she had with Trump for a year. He says she was paid $150,000 and promised a series of exercise articles.
We have a gag order, which to me is totally unconstitutional. I'm not allowed to talk, but people are allowed to talk about me.
The day ended, meanwhile, without a final decision from the judge on whether Trump will be held in contempt and fined for violating his gag order, a hearing that turned combative when the judge turned confrontational against Trump's defense. Now, court resumes on Thursday when the jury will no doubt hear more from Pecker about Karen McDougal. Reporting live in Lower Manhattan, Stefan Kim, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.